Hi everyone, and thanks for joining me for today's yoga session. Today's class will be a Yin-style class, meaning the majority of the poses will be Yin poses, some will not. We'll be focusing on peace, tranquility, harmony, restoring balance, and welcoming, healing energy. So because this is a Yin-style class, please feel free to bring a pillow, bolster, or block if you need it. There will likely be opportunity to incorporate those throughout the practice. When you're ready, we'll get started in a comfortable, easy pose or cross-legged seat. Feel free to sit on a pillow or a block, and I'll meet you in the center of your mat. Today's class is going to be predominantly Yin poses, so we're going to be holding those poses for longer. So just make sure when you're getting into the poses, you feel comfortable enough to hold for an extended period. And then as we settle in here, we're just dropping in, checking in with the spinal alignment, with the breath, and checking in with the physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual bodies. Just starting to notice how you feel this morning. This flow will move very slowly, so settle into that mindset. We're also going to work toward finding stillness in every pose. So mentally prepare for that as well. And as you settle into your body and start to notice how you feel, just once again, like I said, check in with your spinal alignment. Make sure you've got integrity from the crown of your head to the tip of your tail. Spine is nice and long, chest is open, shoulders back. Finding that easy, organic breathing rhythm. So we've talked about what Yin flows focus on, and you can build a mantra that matches that theme or those themes. Or you can use a mantra like, with every deep breath I take, I invite stillness and harmony. Every deep breath I take, I invite stillness and harmony. And that's what we're working toward. Just finding that ease and that inner grace in stillness, so that you can really listen to your body and to the universe. Start to really focus in on the breath. Settle into the physical body. Notice what you feel. Close your eyes if it feels good at any point throughout the practice. And just remember that this practice is your own. You're in control of it. So listen to your body. Find that marriage between ease and effort. Adapt as needed. Just try to ground yourself on the mat. Feel the connection between your body and the earth. Feel the connection in your fingertips or in your hands where they touch your knees or in other parts of the body. Really just try to ground yourself in the sound of your own breath. Enjoy the expansion of every deep inhale and the release of every full exhale. Creating a healing space for ourselves, feel free to rest, restore, recover, and reconnect with the body. As always, try to give yourself this space and the grace to move as your body wishes. And to be curious and to seek what your mind and spirit need for recovery. Remember, we won't be forcing any shapes or comparing ourselves to one another. We'll just be inviting softness in the body and depth of the breath. And if you happen to find yourself in a meditative state in any of these poses, I would just encourage you to stay there. Ignore my cues. Listen to what your body and mind need and accommodate those needs. Take a few more cycles of breath in stillness, settling in. And then if your eyes are closed, you can slowly open them, keep the gaze soft. Check in again with that depth of breath, that spinal alignment. Notice if anything's changed. And when you're ready, bring the palms to the tops of the knees, roll your shoulders back. We're going to move right away into a dragonfly pose, which can be a little tricky for some people, including me sometimes. So if you want to keep the pillow or bolster under your hips, it might help. I'm going to move mine, and for our dragonfly pose, we're just going to open up the legs as wide as they can, comfortably go. And basically we're going to fold forward onto our forearms here. So traditionally we would just find that spinal alignment, keep that nice flat back as we walk the hands forward, coming onto the forearms, and then relax the head and neck. However, if you want to incorporate a bolster or a block or anything to support you, even a big pillow just to snuggle up with, that's fine. This is Yin Yoga, so wherever you are, make sure you come into a pose that's comfortable for you to hold for a while. Also, remember, we're going to keep the toes pointed up toward the ceiling. If your legs have a tendency to internally or externally rotate, let's just keep an eye on that. Otherwise, we'll come into that dragonfly pose however you want to, however you are ready. Relax the head and neck. Remember your mantra and settle into the pose. Reconnect with your breath as soon as you're in. If you need to adjust the intensity of this pose, you can bring the feet closer together or further apart. Relax the head and neck. Meeting your edge, whatever that looks like here. Finding stillness, staying connected to the breath. Inviting rest, recovery, and a healing energy. Noticing what you feel, inviting those sensations, not running from them. And even in stillness, you can be curious in the body and just bring your awareness to different sensations throughout. Take a few more cycles of breath here just to notice how you feel. If it's hard for you, try to bring your focus back. Calm the nervous system with deep breaths. And let something go on your exhale. When you're ready to come out, we'll bring our awareness to the hip bones first, the sits bones where they connect to the mat. And then we'll slowly, gently curl back up to sitting. I will remove this ant from my foot. And then we'll go into head to knee pose. So we're gonna bring one leg in to the inside of the other thigh. So I'm starting with my left foot inward. I'm gonna shift my seated position so my torso is facing that right foot. And then we're going to come into a head toward knee pose. So again, it's head toward knee. Your head doesn't need to touch your knee. But we're going to bring our hands to the outside edge of that right foot. And without pulling ourselves downward, just let the weight of gravity help us stretch through the side body and move closer toward that knee. So bringing your hands up and overhead, we'll then cycle them to the outside of that right foot. Finding that head toward knee pose. Or revolved head toward knee pose. Not forcing it, just coming into the pose with the assistance of gravity. And surrendering to this passive but challenging stretch. Connecting again with the breath and inviting that breath all the way down into that outer hip. Deepening the breath, maybe letting something go on your exhale. Staying present and aware of the sensations you feel. And just relaxing and softening the body. Remember to let your body know it's okay to relax. You are in control. This is your yoga flow. Ground yourself in stillness for a few more breaths. When you're ready to come out, let's start by gently releasing the hands. Notice where gravity has you without holding onto your foot. And then when you're ready, bring your awareness to the sits bones to slowly curl back up. Finding that nice long spine again before switching sides. I'll bring that right foot to the inside edge of the left leg. Adjust your seat so your torso is more facing that left foot. And then hands up and overhead. We'll do the same thing here. Coming to the outside edge of that left foot. And just bringing the head toward the knee on this side, relaxing into it and letting gravity do the work. For an even more passive version of this stretch, you can also just bring your forearms to frame that shin or that knee. And just relax the head and neck over that knee, or somewhere in the vicinity. Notice what you feel in the side body, in the hip, and any other sensations you're experiencing. And then notice the way your breath work changes those sensations. start to lose focus in these long holds, just come back to the sound of your breath. Focus on that. And just try to let go of any passing thoughts that are not serving you. Relax a little deeper into this stretch, inviting stillness, tranquility, inner harmony. Deepening your inhales. Releasing something on your exhale. When you're ready to come out, do so with grace and movement and intention. Coming back up to sitting, checking in with the spine again. Feel free to move as you need to. And we're going to come into our extended child's pose. So get there however you do. You're going to bring the big toes into touch. Knees will go wide, maybe as wide as the mat, but maybe not, wherever you're comfortable. And then we're sending the hips back toward the heels to walk the hands forward, forehead to the mat. You can also feel free to cuddle your pillow here or use a block for your forehead if it feels good. This is Yin Yoga, so we're inviting softness, release, restoration, and rest. So find what feels good for you. Settle into stillness. Invite the body to just relax, to melt into the mat, to feel supported by the earth. And stay present in the sensations that you feel, because they are trying to teach you something about your body. Bring your awareness back to the fingertips. Take a couple more deep cycles of breath here. And then before you come out, please feel free to walk the hands to the left or to the right. Just notice what you feel there. And then when you're finished exploring your range, and only when you're finished, we'll come onto all fours. We're going to move into a lizard stretch, but in Yin Yoga we call it dragon. But before we do that, we're going to go through a little cat-cow. So you know what to do. Connect with the breath. Inhale, drop the belly, tilt the pelvis, lift the gaze. And on your exhale, press away from the mat, arching through the upper back, bringing the low ribs inward. So take a few iterations. Moving with the breath. And then when you come into your last iteration of cat pose, where your back is arched up toward the ceiling, we're going to bring that left foot to the outside edge of the left palm. So with that, your toes should be angled slightly outward toward the left. So this right here is your lizard pose. Once you get into it, feel free to adjust. If you want a little more intensity, you can walk that right knee back a little further and just stay up on the palms if it feels good. We can also use props here, and many people do, especially when first working in lizard or dragon pose. Eventually, we want to work to come down toward the forearms if possible, and maybe even rest your head on the block or pillow or on stacked fists as you quote unquote progress, though any version of this stretch is valid and effective. So find the version that works for you. We'll settle in for a few minutes. Close your eyes if it feels good. This is one of those poses where the sensations might be very strong, so I would just encourage you to sit with that, to articulate to yourself exactly what you're feeling and where, and just to use this as a lesson in awareness and being present in the body and in the present moment. So try not to run from the sensations, even if they're intense. Instead, you're just observing them. You are not your body, you're just receiving signals from your body. Remember to connect with the breath. Notice the power of your breath on every inhale, that expansion, and the power of that release on every exhale. Stay present. Come back to the breath if you lose focus. Take a few more deep cycles of breath here. And if you can't breathe deeply and with full expression, then you're too far into the pose. So if your breath is inhibited, maybe stay up on your hands for the next side. When you're ready to come out, you will come back up onto the palms. We're gonna flex back into that right hip a little bit, and then bring that left foot more toward the middle of your mat, in between both palms. We're just gonna extend into a runner's stretch before we transition by fully extending through that knee and bringing the toes up toward the ceiling. Your hands might be in line with the heel, or maybe a little bit closer for less intensity, or a little further away for higher intensity stretch in that hamstring. Go ahead and relax the head and neck when you get there. Remember, we're not forcing any shape, so find the degree of intensity that works for you today. There's no shame in it, wherever you are. Just imagine kind of pulling that heel back into that hip. Not forcing it, nice and passive here. We'll bend into that left knee when you're ready. Let's come back to the sole of the foot, and then bring that foot back for your tabletop pose, all fours position. We're going to take it to the other side so you can get into that dragon on the right, however you get into it. Feel free to adjust as needed, maybe walking that left knee back a little further or bringing it closer toward the hands. Angle that right foot out to the right. And then find your variation. If you want to try to come onto the forearms here or onto a block, find what works for you on this side. Remember, we want to be able to take full, complete breaths. So if the integrity of the breath is diminished, just stay up on your hands. You might also notice that one side is very different from the other, and of course that's okay. When you find your variation, settle in. Remember your mantra. You're inviting that healing energy, seeking inner harmony, and letting go of what we don't need. Practicing non-attachment to our thoughts, letting go of that mind chatter as it comes up, and focusing in on the breath. Stay present in your sensations. Try to quiet the mind. Notice what you feel. Breathe into it. Stay here as long as you'd like, or press into the palms when you're ready. Bend into that left hip. Walk that right foot inward toward the center line. And then we'll extend through that right knee, bringing the toes toward the ceiling, relaxing the head and neck for this brief runner stretch, very passive. Find stillness if you can. Connect with the breath. Stay present in the sensations of the body, just observing. And when you're ready to come out, bend into that right knee. We'll roll forward onto that right foot. And then bring it back for your tabletop position. So from tabletop, we're going to go into threading the needle. So remove your props if you have any. To thread the needle, we'll come into our tabletop position, bringing palms together under the shoulders. We'll start with the left palm, so plant the right palm just under the chest. Left palm opens up toward the ceiling, opening up through the chest, and then coming underneath that right arm, coming down onto that left shoulder, left ear, bringing the right palm toward the top right corner of the mat, and just opening up the left palm toward the ceiling. So your hips might have a tendency to pull to the right here, so we'll just try to push them to the left. Settle into the pose, relax into it, find stillness, find the breath. Come back to the breath if you lose focus. Remember your mantra. Remember what brought you to the mat today. Guide your own practice and transition only when you're ready to that second side. Start by bringing the palm under the shoulder to press up. Maybe lifting that left palm up toward the ceiling again, just to check it out. And enjoy this big stretch. And then we'll do the same thing on the second side. So bring that left palm to the center of the mat, right palm up towards the ceiling, and then thread that needle underneath the left arm, coming down to the right ear, right shoulder, opening up that right palm toward the ceiling, pressing the hips toward the right, and you should feel a little pull through the right shoulder when you do that. If you don't, feel free to adjust, find your place, and settle in. Notice what you feel. Sit with those sensations. Just listening and observing. Stay connected to those nice, deep inhales and exhales. Just taking up space on the mat. Giving yourself this time, this grace, just to be here now. Take a couple more deep breaths, or stay here as long as you'd like. When you're ready to come out, bring the left palm under the left shoulder to press up. And very quickly before the next yin pose, we'll come into puppy pose. If it feels good, walk the hands forward toward the corners of the mat, bring the chest down towards the mat, and rest the forehead there, or the chin, whatever feels right. Nice and passive here. No abdominal engagement, just letting the belly soften. When you're ready to come out, we'll bring the palms back under the shoulders. Nice and easy, moving slowly with control. From here, we're going to curl the back toes under and lift the hips up high and back for downward dog. We'll stay here for just a minute. Shake out your hair if it feels good. Heels toward the floor, but they don't need to touch. Notice what you feel here. Finding that nice flat back. And then we're going to slowly walk that tightrope up to the top of the mat to yet another non-yin pose that I just love, which is the standing forward fold. So make your way there at your own pace. And once you're there, just find a passive version of this fold. We're just going to use this as a transition, so we won't be here too long. Take whatever you need, no pressure to find stillness here. It's a great pose to explore spinal posture, the breath, and just a little change of perspective if you keep your eyes open. Take your time here, get a few nice, deep, nourishing breaths in. Notice what you feel. And stay here as long as you'd like. When you're ready, we're going to transition into a yogi squat. So we're just going to walk the feet a little wider, let the toes spill off the mat or angle away from one another. And bending into the knees, we're going to sink the hips down toward the mat, elbows on the insides of the knees. And maybe bring the palms together for a prayer pose in front of the heart space. Finding your balance, finding your center, finding your focus. Settle in on the breath. Try to keep the spine nice and long here. But we're very passively stretching through that external rotation in the hips. Close your eyes if it feels good. Remember your mantra. Inviting stillness and harmony, tranquility, inner peace. Remember, all the answers are already inside you. It's just your job to listen and observe. Stay connected to the breath as you do that. Because we are approaching the end of the class and this pose can be intense for some people, we won't stay here for 5 minutes. Feel free to stay as long as you like. Finding that ease in the breath. Staying connected to and present in the body. When you're ready, you can drop your hips to the mat, coming into a seat. You can go ahead and center yourself here. We're going to do one more supported pose before Shavasana. So for this one, you can put the pillow or a block under your low back if you want to. We're going to come into a supported saddle pose. So for that, we'll sit on the hips. We'll bend the knees, sit on the hips, bring the heels to the left and the right of the hips. So you're really connecting your sits bones to the mat. And feel free to adjust your position if you need to. And then from here, we'll bring that pillow just to where the low back will land, and we'll use the hands to walk us backward into this supported saddle pose. If you have a second pillow, feel free to put it under your head if it feels good. You have access to the feet here, so I always encourage you to engage with that. Pay attention to your feet, your toes, your ankles. They don't get enough love. And once you're there, find stillness, settle in, find your focus. Try to relax the body and the mind. Touching your feet is not your thing. You can also just open up the palms to the left and the right. We'll We're winding down the practice here, so just consider your intentions for this practice and whether there's anything else you need. Every breath, we're inviting healing energy and inner harmony. Letting go of our thoughts like clouds in the sky. Stay here as long as you like, or transition out when you're ready. When you come out of this pose, make sure you're supporting yourself with the hands to come up to a seated position before opening up the legs again. And then once you get there, we'll move that pillow to the head space, and we're going to come back to Shavasana. Just to close this out, if you want to tuck the knees toward the chest before we do that, could be a good hip flexor release after saddle pose. Maybe rock gently side to side, or take a happy baby pose, whatever your body's asking you for. And then when you're ready, we'll settle into Shavasana. Sending both legs out long, opening up palms toward the ceiling, reconnecting with the breath and your intention for the practice, whatever that may be. Once again, feeling fully supported by the strength of the earth. Surrendering the body and the mind to your yoga mat just for a few more precious minutes. Remember that you not only deserve this space for rest and restoration and recovery, but that it is a vital part of living in a human body in any type of training regimen. So rest is equally important, if not more important, for building muscle and recovering from workouts. Very important to take it just as seriously. Reconnect with the breath if your mind starts to wander, or if not. Just notice the quality of your breathing now. What's different? go of any residual tension you're still holding on to. Make sure you're not clenching the feet or the hands or the face. Just surrendering to the yoga mat. I encourage you to take 10 minutes of quiet meditation after every yoga practice and every day if you can. Especially at the end of every yoga practice. Before I close this practice, I'd just like to pay acknowledgement and respect to the Monongahela, Osage, and Erie tribes who used to inhabit this land from which I am teaching. We respect, honor, and say thank you to them. We also recognize that yoga is an ancient spiritual practice from the subcontinent of India. So we recognize the importance of those spiritual implications and the cultural significance of yoga to India. So we respect and honor that as well. For us, yoga is a community. I thank you so much for being part of my community. I hope you got what you needed here today, and I hope to see you again soon. Namaste.